there, my name is Heather Feather. I am the owner of Rare Bird Medicine, and today's topic is croaking. I am going to offer towards the end of this video some information on how one can step into greater alignment in the self on 9/9/2025, which is a 999 day, but we'll talk about that at the tail end of this video because I wanted to begin by talking about this piece that is connected to it called croaking. Heather is kin to crow. Crow is crow, raven, fox, coyote, spider. Heather is kin to a lot of the trickster totems. And there are native nations, bless them, may they have the microphone and may we have the ears to listen. But there are many native nations that do connect with the concept of a trickster totem. Like the Lakota talk about 𝐬𝐡𝐚𝐧𝐿, the spider trickster totem. And so raven, crow, fox, coyote, spider, bat can sometimes be part of that. There are certain power animals or totem animals, if you will, that are considered tricksters. And why are they tricksters? They're tricksters because what they do is give you the opportunity to witness your ego, and they give you the invitation to like a sacred clown, like someone hanging upside down in this realm, to laugh at the ego. However, if the ego has great attachment to its presence in the field, it can have an opposite effect where that galactic mirror that the trickster totem clown energy offers, the ego gets triggered. And so it can bring in the shadow side of that. And I can say, as I do feel often like a galactic mirror, which is sometimes I think for beings uncomfortable to be in my presence because that trickster totem is present. And Heather can be in her ego and be in her animal man body and be, you know, definitely stuck in her ego. I talk a lot about being on the high horse because I don't want to be on my high horse. You know what I mean? I don't want to like parade around like I'm so freaking righteous and like I know, because we're all just telling stories about this, to me, Maya, illusion, dream, holography. And I like to call us opinion sacks. We've all got one. And, you know, if you want to say matter of fact, prove to me your opinion. And how can you? Because it's difficult to even prove if this is a dream or not, right? So I digress. The reason I want to make this video, I was over at Mountain. I was going for a hike, and there were many crows overhead. And I was saying a prayer that I often say for our beautiful animal kin. And, you know, pray for your belly, your heart, your mind, your nest, be blessed. I was praying for the crows. And I was telling them, you're my crow kin. You know, I love you. Like, just, I love you, my family. But as I said crow kin, I realized how much it sounded like croaking, or croaking and dying. X's over the 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐜𝐫𝐬. And I was like, that's really appropriate. Because universal symbology for death, and pretty much truth of it, when we die, it is a change. A change has occurred. Whatever the animus was, in my experience, I've seen plenty of dead bodies in this lifetime. My experience is that whatever was the animus in that, the personality matrix, the energetic dynamic of one's personality, is gone from the being. And now there's just a shell left. I've often said, well, that's just a shell when I look at a dead person. And a change has occurred, you know? And so each individual gets to decide. I was blessed to be raised with a mom that gave me freedom of religion. And although I talk about all kinds of spiritual things, this is just Heather Feather's perspective. I don't think right or wrong. I think it's just my neutral observation of playing individual in a dream of what it's like, I think it means this. And other people are like, I think it means this. She's wrong. And who cares? We're all just telling stories, right? But one of the biggest teacher I definitely take a knee to that I've witnessed the most in this paradigm, I feel like, is death. I've lost 60 to 70 people. I used to have 2 cats. I have 1 now, but having had the opportunity for dead creatures to be brought to my feed. And when I hike, there are often dead creatures present. Death has been with me since I came into Earth School. My dad drowned when I was 17 months old. My mother died in a car accident. All these people that have exited. Death is a constant teacher in Heather Feather's life. And so what does this croaking mean? I mean, tricky thing, death. Death coming for you like a freight train, I always say. It's one of the things you know is going to happen for you one day. And what does it mean to you? To some, it means, oh, YOLO, you only live once, and you don't have a soul, and there is no God, and there's just blackness. For some, it means you only live once, and then God judges you, and either you get to hang out with people in a place called heaven, or lots of people you loved are hanging out in hell. You know, there's like all these iterations and variations of incarnations of what one can decide about what death means. Heather Feather It's barely even a thing. We have a coin of life and a coin of dead, and really it's just spirit and spirit pretending alive and then not having the flesh costume kind of create the illusion of separation from source. But to me, it's just walking the rim of the coin from here to there. Like, let me drop that flesh sock off. You can burn it up or whatever. And I'm going to go over here and be a more expanded version of myself that is eternal, that takes up flesh costumes to play around with contrast. That's my perspective, right? So I was thinking about this croaking friend, and we also are coming up on 9/9/2025 as a numerologist. Heather, I've been described many times as meta. I'm meta about what I'm meta about. Think about what I think about, and I do think in loops. Maybe you can relate. But I was thinking as well in these days about how we're coming up on 9/9/2025. So Heather Feather's been in a space where I have been kind of rebelling. I had some friends visit, and we got to have amazing food, and I love them so much, and it was pure medicine to spend time with them. And so I was letting myself just kind of enjoy the deliciousness of life. And I decided, based on some things going on in my life, that I'm going to step into a pretty strict dieta and a pretty strict exercise regimen. I started that several weeks ago again, launched it again, keep relaunching. And I decided that I think I'm going to begin it on 9/9/2025. So I wanted to give you opportunity to consider this piece that croaking is something you're going to do. Tricky thing about life is death coming like a freight train. You're definitely going to exit the flesh costume. Whatever you've decided occurs on the other side. To me, that's an interesting, neat, and important thing to consider, because if we are eternal, then the flesh sack is just a very small part of a much larger picture. And the question for me is, if there's a larger picture, what does that larger picture mean? What am I doing down here? What am I trying to do? You know, I like to be effective. So considering this piece that you will exit the dream, you will exit whatever you hold this to be, even if you hold this to be reality, you're going to exit. And so what are you wanting to do from here to the grave? Because that's what the destination you're definitely on the way to. You're definitely headed to the grave. You know what I mean? All of us get to die, as I often say. Thank goodness, you know, you don't have to be stuck in this illusion, or you can drop the Maya. And so what would you like to do with the remaining years? Being 49 years old, I am thinking about, wow, I'm a few months away from 5 decades deep. And what would I like to do with the remaining decades? And for me, I want to step into 50 in a really aligned way. So I'm about to do a really strict dieta. I'm about to do a 𝐾𝐨𝐧'𝐭 cleanse. I'm about to basically strip the system and then rebuild the gut microbiome and do all these things to just support my overall health as I step into the closer to the grave movements I'm going to make. Tricky place to be, Earth School, because many things want to take one's attention, you know? So many things want your attention. And as you get closer to the grave, the doors and windows start to collapse on the amount of time that you have left to create whatever it is you came to create. And so I don't think that my philosophy or anything I've said in these videos is right or is the absolute truth. It's just Heather Feather sharing her truth. And I'm often asking you, what is your truth? And are you living in that truth? And so as I come closer to this date of 9/9/2025, 2025, 2 plus 2 is 4, 4 plus 5 is 9. So on 9/9/2025, if we did the numerology, it's 999. And 9 plus 9 plus 9 is 27, which again makes 9. 9 is a very magical number numerologically. 9 means integrity and wisdom. And Heather's a 2911-2. It's my life path to walk 2911-2. But that means that I get to walk in the integrity and wisdom that I know to be true and to operate under that. And so it's very important to me, being on the medicine person path, that I walk the talk. And there are many ways Heather fails that aim and gets to, if she wants to achieve her aim, shore up what it is she's speaking and what it is she's walking, right? If I'm talking about medicine, do I follow the medicines that I speak to? Because then that's just hypocrisy, which I really never have experienced a two-legged that's not hypocritical in some way, but it's not my aim to be hypocritical, right? I'm doing something down here. Let me get the work done. My invitation and my invocation in this video, in which I'm talking about this concept of tricky, death coming, death means change gonna come, thank you, Sam Cooke, change gonna come. And so when we know that change is gonna come and we do get to exit this place, the question I'm often stewing in is, what changes do I need to make to be in alignment with the being I say I want to be? Who is it I say I want to be? I really do seek to be physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually healthy. And so Heather's received information this year that it's like, okay, I can see some spaces where I'm out of alignment. Thank goodness. Thank you, teachers. And let me figure out how to get into alignment. There are ways physically I'm definitely not in alignment. In the past several years, I've eaten foods I would normally never eat. I typically prefer to live by an organic and cook at home type of lifestyle and diet. But I've stepped away from that some, and just kind of being rebellious and like, whatever, it's all holograms. And I'm wanting to come back into, my dad was an organic farmer, and I want to step back into, I charted that as a soul because I wanted to remember the virtue of natural foods and a holistic way of living in the physical body and honoring the temple that I am carrying to the grave, this temple of consciousness, this temple of awareness, this temple of loving kindness that is available to the self and others if I but choose to step into those shoes, right? And so then I look at the self physically, like, how am I not aligned in what I'm eating, what I'm drinking, and how I'm moving? Do I exercise for each meal that I eat? Like, well, that's one of the things I've been thinking about, like, if I have a breakfast, I do sit-ups and push-ups in the morning, right? So then breakfast is taken care of, and then I have a lunch. Can I go for a hike after lunch? Or can I take a walk around the block? Or am I doing something to move some of that energy that I consumed to keep the energy going so that the physical temple remains aligned? And then in the element of air, like, what's happening with my mind? What I think about, I will feel about. As above, so below. It trickles down into the manifest world of form. And so what am I holding in the temple of my mind? How much attention am I placing on things in this realm that are not what I want for my life? And how much attention am I placing in this realm on the things that I do want for my life? In the process of eliminating TV, and all I'm going to have available is YouTube, because I can learn to build a cob house or play guitar, or, you know what I mean? It kind of forces a different type of information to be available to be received by me. And I don't get choice paralysis, and I don't have as much opportunity to just sit in front of the TV. Am I painting? Am I creating? I'm a creative woman, you know what I mean? Am I creating in the ways I want to? Am I creating the classes, the textbooks, the things that I want to create? So I'm working to mind my mind, and what you think about, I find you do feel about, but how are the waters of my heart doing? Do I feel dissociated, disconnected? Do I feel separate? Do I feel alone? I don't really ever feel lonely, but I'm often alone. Does it serve for me to be alone? You know what I mean? I enjoy my own company, but is it maybe easier for my own company to evolve around others? Probably. Let's get out there a little bit more, Heather. And so I'm working on that. How is my communication going in the element of air, in the element of my mind development? Am I speaking the things I want to speak? No, there's a lot of ways I don't say things I want to say, because it's like, oh, doesn't matter. I'm a hologram, doesn't matter if I speak. And so, watching the waters of my heart. Am I breathing enough in the element of air? Am I drinking enough water? In the waters of my heart, am I being attentive to when things don't feel good and moving away from those and moving towards the things that do feel good so that I can continue to do this thing called evolution? Am I seeking to not only be a teacher, but to also always be a student? Am I finding the teachers of my world, like minds equally yoked to awaken me? Yeah, I've had some interesting conversations lately. And, finally, how is my spirit doing? So my invocation and invitation in this video is on 9/9/2025 is to make some change, some iteration of connection towards something that you would like to have and hold and experience in your life. What can you change? On the day of integrity and wisdom, on the day of alignment, what can you change in your actions, in your behavior? What can you shift? Can you give yourself less options? Can you do different with your finances as a reflection of understanding your self-worth and value? Is there any iteration in your incarnation that you might like to have some type of alteration around? The invocation invitation is on 9/9/2025. maybe that's a perfect time to become aligned in integrity and wisdom. You can always subscribe to Rare Bird Medicine on YouTube. I'm Lynn.